I just sang a song parody, Dad, like Weird Al Yankovic.
Bobby, Al Yankovic blew his brains out in the late 80s after people stopped buying his records. He's not worth getting into trouble over.
For over 30 years, Al fans the world around have been clamoring for an all-new Al-centric film project since our first taste in 1989 cult classic UHF, which, although underperforming at the box office due to being released in one of the most insane blockbuster movie summers of all time, has since become a beloved and cherished comedy staple for generations to follow. Now, in anticipation of the ludicrously sensationalized, mostly false true story of Weird Al Yankovic's rise to fame in Weird, the Al Yankovic Story, directed by Eric Appel, who had previously helmed the 2010 Funny or Die trailer of the same name, and co-penned by Al himself. What better time to revisit Al's very first hilariously exaggerated biopic and long-forgotten Beatles-inspired promotional direct-to-video showcase debut, The Compleat Al. Initially premiering on Showtime in the summer of 1985 to be subsequently released on VHS and Betamax, The Compleat Al was produced by CBS Home Video as a proposed long-form music video that would combine all of Al's previous music videos up to that point, as well as commission 3 new videos for Like a Surgeon, Dare to Be Stupid, and One More Minute, all together in one package. Although bands releasing VHS collections of their music videos was not uncommon in the 80s and 90s, The Compleat Al went above and beyond the average loosely curated back-to-back playlist format of the time, crafting a full-out Weird Al career mockumentary celebrating Al's undeniable impact on the world of music, coming on the heels of only his 3rd album, and even featuring an 127-page companion book titled The Authorized Al. Co-directed by longtime Al manager and future UHF director Jay Levy and Kentucky Fried Movie Blues Brothers Naked Gun producer Robert K. Weiss, The Compleat Al was of course itself a parody of rock and roll music documentaries of the time, and most specifically 1982's The Compleat Beatles, sharing its titular spelling of complete and also a few other subtle cues from the film itself that you may be able to spot if you look closely.
Liverpool.
Linwood, California.
200 miles to the northwest of London.
25 miles to the south of Los Angeles.
Nothing much ever came from Liverpool.
Nothing much ever came from Linwood.
But soccer teams and British comedians.
Known primarily for the manufacture of aluminum foil and nasal decongestants.
For a boy growing up in Liverpool,
For a boy growing up in Linwood,
the future was no brighter than that which his father had faced.
the future seemed no brighter than the future of those before him.
In 1956, in fact, there was little to suggest
In fact, there was little to suggest that out of this provincial setting
that out of this provincial seaport would come 4 young men.
would come a young man and a musical revolution that would captivate and change the world.
Oh, it's the real thing because the hotel manager of the Whittier Hotel and the Muhlenbach Hotel signs an affidavit.
Oh, it's the real thing because the hotel manager of the Park Plaza Hotel in New York and Swingos in Cleveland signed affidavits
Certifying that this is the Beatle bedding they slept on.
certifying that this is Weird Al's actual dental floss that he used.
And who slept on what sheet and belongs to who, Ringo, George, or Paul.
What piece was used after what meal or what day. You could even see a little piece of, I think it's vegetable matter right here.
And the name of it is A Sprout of a New Generation.
And the name of it is The Dawn of a New Beginning.
A new dawn. You see, the Beatles are the original. They started the look, everything.
You see, Weird Al's the dawn. He's the beginning of everything.
And I like to oil paint, and I love to present his paints in the pool.
And I like to oil paint and everything. And if I could just give this to him, it would mean everything.
Now, when you get these things cut up into 1 square inches apiece, what are you going to do with them?
Sell them.
Now, what do you plan to do with this stuff?
I'm gonna sell them.
In addition to a few other references that are nearly imperceptible.
Thank you!
Like much of Al's work, the film falls somewhere between the lines of fact and fiction, mixing elements of Al's real-life story through the absurd comedic lens of his larger-than-life personality. Although events like Al's birth taking place in an elevator, or evidence of Al ever having girlfriends was completely fabricated for the film, many stories do in fact in some way reflect actual events from Al's life, such as his enrollment at the California Polytechnic State University in Architecture, his college radio show and fascination with Debbie Boone.
He'd put on Debbie Boone. You want to hear You Light Up My Life by Debbie Boone?
This is Debbie Boone.
our Debbie Boone records were trashed.
His first recording of My Bologna taking place in a campus bathroom, and even a live-action reenactment of Jay Levy's most famous anecdote about his experience starting out with Al.
I would call people and say, I manage an artist named Weird Al Yankovic, and they'd say, oh, that's too bad. One of my fondest memories is calling people saying, hi, I'm a manager of an artist named Weird Al Yankovic, and having people say, oh, that's too bad.
I got a hot new musical act that's perfect for your club. No, honest, I'm serious. Yeah, his name's Weird Al Yankovic. What do you mean that's too bad?
The Compleat Al also features many references to things that would later become staples of Al's career, such as mentions of the nasal decongestant factory, aluminum foil, poodles, and the name Bob.
And the name Bob is a palindrome. We just like that name.
Unlike the more recent depictions of Al as an over-the-top, cocksure, booze-soaked madman in the 2010 Funny or Die video and upcoming feature film, the Compleat Al paints our hero as much more passive and kind of overwhelmed by the climb to fame.
So Al, how does that sound to you? Are you ready to join the roster of Ronzoni international superstars and make millions of dollars?
Okay.
Hey, congratulations.
Which seems to be a lot truer to the real Al's experience.
I've never slept with a band member. I've never crippled a band member. I've never stayed in my boat for 3 days on a heroin binge. I've never had to deal with weight problems. I've never slept with so many women I lost count. Never lip-synced to my songs except in music videos. And never was an alcoholic. I never was a poster child for marijuana smoking. And I've never married my 13-year-old cousin. So what do you want from me?
In addition to lampooning several elements of the Compleat Beatles for his debut mockumentary, Al's journey would continue to cross paths with the Beatles throughout his career, releasing 2 George Harrison parodies in the form of This Song's Just 6 Words Long from Harrison's 1987 hit Got My Mind Set on You, and his unearthed 1981 version of Harrison-penned Beatles tune Taxman as Pac-Man from his Medium Rarities collection. But probably his most notable interactions were those he'd have with Paul McCartney, as Al has frequently cited the experience of meeting and actually being recognized by the former Beatle as one of the highlights of his career.
Man, what a thrill this is. Thanks so much for coming on the show. Welcome.
Oh, sure, in Big Gara, the top of the morning.
You can just say hello.
Hello.
Al also famously approached McCartney in the early 90s about covering his 1973 Bond title theme, Live and Let Die, as Chicken Pot Pie.
And the big thing was the chorus of the song would have been...
However, McCartney had to decline as he felt the parody was in conflict with his active and vocal vegetarian lifestyle, which Al himself would later adapt, trading in his Twinkie Wiener sandwiches for probably this ice cream carrot mustard thing.
Ew!
Al did, however, have the opportunity to work with the rock and roll legend in 2009 as part of a short film for that year's Orange County Fair entitled Al's Brain, where Al got to direct McCartney in a short scene leading up to the presentation of the Brain song. Much like Al himself, the Compleat Al is a totally bizarre and one-of-a-kind artifact of its time that should absolutely be experienced by any true Al completionist. Although the main narrative kinda runs out of steam around the 48-minute mark while trying to tie the video for I Lost on Jeopardy into the main story, presented with a delightful introduction by Al's real-life parents.
I was never so embarrassed in all my life.
We had to move.
There are some really hilarious original segments throughout this movie. From the opening crawl warning that any attempted duplication of this tape can result in exploding pets and the Earth hurling itself into the sun, to the amazing dressing room montage doubling as an unofficial video to Midnight Star. And honestly, if it's been a while since you've seen any of the classic music videos and Al TV gags, the Compleat Al strikes a perfect balance of familiar and new material from Al's early heyday and serves as a perfect grab bag of irreverent humor and madcap mischief from the early years of an artist who go on to introduce generations to their first taste of music in a way that was fun and approachable, while never being patronizing and always being true to himself. Much like Al's music, the Compleat Al is a time capsule of its era, harkening back to a day when a curly-haired, accordion-wielding maniac dared to be stupid and showed the world there's nothing cooler than being weird.
You gotta be mine. You're just so fine. I like your style. da 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 da. It makes me wild. Da 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 da. You're talking to me good. Da 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 da. You know you like you should. Da 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 da. You get me on my knees. Da 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 da. Please, baby, please. Da 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 da. She looks so great every time I see her face. She puts me in a state of shock